happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscribe or die trying. What's happening, fam? How y'all doing? It's nice to talk to y'all. It's gonna get quite interesting, I think. You know, will woke culture be on the right side of history? That's the topic, right? The reason is, and shout out to Big Duke for giving me that intro. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you. Can't thank you enough. I really do appreciate that. But I'm looking at the Patrice Cullors, one of the ladies in Black Lives Matters, who just kind of stepped down, and then she just put up a fence that they're watching her pockets. What's happening, man? I feel you. And so they pricing up pockets, sub-cynical. And they're saying the fence costs 35 racks or whatever to keep people out, to keep the riffraff out. And a few other things happened this week. I had watched a Netflix special or whatever on student loans and gambling and this, that, and the third. And I also watched a little bit, I forgot what it was, but political commentaries, right? And shout out to ABL. He was live on Instagram yesterday too. These people, this woke culture is not really woke to me. So I think it's going to be on the wrong side of history because first and foremost, it's not really woke. It's kind of like people are acting like, oh, I'm down with the people and I'm against this and I'm against that. I'm against racism, but it's not really about being against racism or about being against patriarchy, because it seems like the woke movement has become a thing against a war against men and a war against expressing sexuality. It has nothing, it comes off as something that has nothing to really do with right or wrong. What's going on, driver's seat? It's one of those scenarios where, when we look back at it, because I did a video, it's on Remind, it's coming out maybe a week, I don't know, about is homophobia real, with the Kellogg's like LGBT cereal, you get what I'm saying? And promoting that to kids. Are you supposed to promote sexuality to children as breakfast? Things like that make me believe that woke is not going to be on the right side of history. Now going back to the BLM thing, the fact that the parents, of Michael Brown and Tamir Rice, have an issue with Teron was popping with Black Lives Matter, and the men who died, like I think it's Darren Seals, I want to say, him and a few other brothers who died in Ferguson, if I'm not mistaken, the Ferguson, Missouri, St. Louis area. For them not to be taken into consideration, I think is going to be on the wrong side of history. I think that the idea that you're not supposed to have men in the household and men in the organization, you know what I'm saying? Red, what's happening? Hilarious. They have not supposed to have men in the family, men in the organization, and this is supposed to be a predominantly women's movement is an issue because, using the term Black Lives Matter, they don't actually care about the Black male lives, the female lives, somewhat the children's lives, and the homosexual lives, but the heterosexual males don't matter. So, and the money aspect of that, where to the offshoots that people have bankrolled are predominantly for LGBTQ issues, right? So how is that, is that going to be on the right side of history? I don't think so, because people are going to say, well, it was started because of this, but somehow it morphed to this, so it was about this here. And people are going to go, I don't know. I don't know what that's supposed to be, because these two things don't equate. So that's the first issue with it, right? For me, at least. Well, I think it's going to be on the wrong side of history. This one of the other issues, but I said the second for right now, is interlopers, or as some would call it, intersectionality, right? So you got people who are supposed to be woke, right, and have all of these issues, but they can't stick to. They don't actually have a issue that stands out, that doesn't. It's not even egregious, but it's just focused towards them per se. It's always hitching your wagon to somebody else's issue. Oh, I got treated like this, and you got treated like that because you're this, and I got treated like that because I'm this. And it's like, wait, no, those two things don't equate. Those two things don't equate. Like, one person get treated one way about because of their race, one person gets treated away because of their gender, one person gets treated away because of their sexuality, another person gets treated away because of their class, but somehow they're all intertwined and have the same issues or the same quote unquote struggles, right? And I think when people look at it and look back, look at it and when it becomes history, it's like these people have nothing in common. So how can their issues actually be similar when they have nothing in common? They're not viewed the same. They don't go through the same type of things. They don't have the same history. They don't have the same culture. They don't have the same history of quote unquote oppression or or American adversarialness towards them. These, they don't have the, if you would say, if we went through the scale of issues and oppression, let's just take it there, or prejudice. One person in intersectionality might be at a 2, the other person might be at a 9, but somehow they're on the same level. And it's like, no, they're not. Like, somebody cussed you out and they cussed me out too. So we have the same issue. My family member was lynched because of this. My family members had their property stolen because of this. Oh, I got tied up once. It was a wild night. So we got the same issue. No, people. I'm an immigrant. I came from somewhere else, and I came to this country, and I have the same issues as you in this country. No, you do not. So you got to deal with that factor of it. Saying, okay, being woke is just, what side of history are you on? Because I don't see how your immigrant issue and your who was that, the 1%ers, issue of this person's in the middle class and this person's in the upper class, but somehow they have the. I'm gonna have an issue in a second, because I'm gonna have to call somebody back. So I'll get back to it. I'll get back to that later. But what's going to wind up happening is, at a certain point, we're going to have to figure something out. Hold on. Just give me a second. So let me get back to this now. So what wound up happening is, basically, all of the intersectionality makes no sense. And the worst part about the intersectionality that I think people are going to have an issue with over time is how people weave in and out of being something that they're not. You know, a person could change their hairstyle and be in tune with a different race. You know, a person could change the music they listen to, and now all of a sudden I'm on the same wavelength as this person over here. A person can speak a few words in a different language and be like, oh, I get it now. I really understand it. Or you eat a different food, you know, now I'm so plugged into who you are. It's like y'all playing pretend. And the playing pretend is an issue, you know. So what winds up happening is at the end of the day, I don't think history is going to have a good standing when it comes to woke culture. I don't think it's going to work that way. So let me play a little bit further on the playing pretend part, which is another part of, you know, past the intersectionality. Is you got people playing woke for pay. I'm woke right now because this is a movement. You got people trying to be woke as a way to be a pseudo activist to get in the front of the activist check line. So you playing like you're an activist. Because what winds up happening is, this is what I mean by people playing, is people keep invoking people like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Medgar Evers, and their cause was bigger than them. You get what I'm saying? Their cause was bigger than them. Though they're martyrs, their cause, it wasn't about them and them alone. And furthermore, it wasn't about a particular person. So you play and pretend. That's how it looks. This, you know, Emmett Till's death sparked the civil rights movement, even though there were things happening at the time. But all the leaders, it wasn't just about Emmett, it was about the whole group. We got people playing about, I'm gonna march for this person. I'm gonna march against police brutality. Knowing that you already had a civil rights movement because it's part of the woke culture, right? And knowing that their biggest fight at the end of it was not was actually poverty, was actually money. And to not take up that fight, you know, when people get back down to it, people are going through this because they're poor, they're struggling, gentrified communities, you know, poor educations, which means the schools aren't financed properly. The people don't have the kind of jobs or skills to make a certain amount of money. So to skip all the way over that and say, oh, let's march down the street because we're upset that that a murder happened on camera, or we're upset that and this is what I mean by playing pretend. You know, an Asian person got beat up now, so now they woke. You know, a Hispanic person might have got beat up somewhere or treated unfairly somewhere. Now they woke. You know, now it's not on the same level as black folks. You know, the you can tell me people storm the Capitol could really just say I was woke. I feel oppressed. And that's what they feel, like they got cheated and the system wronged them, so they decided to storm the Capitol because in their pseudo, ultra conservative or super right leaning way, oh my God, y'all don't see what's going on, because that was part of that. That too. You don't see what's going on. We're gonna stop the steal. We're gonna blah 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 blah. It's like, listen, man. Over time, it's gonna look like a bunch of mindless people who had a reason to do how can I say this? To riot and cause chaos and be anarchists because they didn't get their way. And this is what I mean by playing. Because the cause could have been, the initial cause could have been righteous. You know, the initial cause, Trayvon Martin. The initial cause, George Floyd. Tamir Rice. The initial cause, Sandra Bland. The initial cause, Tamir, then George Floyd or Breonna Taylor. Those are the causes. Alton Sterling. Like, those are the causes, but to pivot and talk about something completely different, I got, I got beat up today, so the world is crashing in. No, I'm not feeling you. I'm not feeling you. Doesn't make sense. Like, it really doesn't add up. So when people look back at it, they're gonna have to try to put, they're gonna have to take. It's so much sauce on this stuff. You have to take some of the sauce off of it because it's not good. It's not good whatsoever. So to me, that's a problem. Now, the other thing that's got to address in this, about the plan pretend part, you got to take it a step further. Basically, you got this cancel part of the culture, right? So you're canceling people because you're woke for doing something in their past that was pretty much in line with what was going on in that era, whether it be right or wrong. Like if like the Bill Cosby thing, people, when he was talking about parties and quaaludes, I don't see how you could watch Scarface and Snowfall. It's interesting that you can watch all of these movies. What's up, Dion? You can watch all of these movies and you're so woke to what was going on in the 80s, the 70s, oh, the streets was flooded with drugs and they grew up in the crack era and the Studio 54 and, part of the drug and AIDS epidemic, right? And then turn right around and say, oh, that person's a bad person because they were out there doing what they was doing in the 70s and 80s. That's it. Oh my God, cancel them. Or somebody tweeted something 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and oh my God, I went through all of their tweets and I finally found something. Look at this. Okay. So how many tweets did they put out in the whole entirety of their Twitter lifetime? How many? Oh, they put out 20,000. So you went 5, 6, 7, 10 years back and you found one thing that was offensive. So now they're done. So you got to be perfect now. And if you got to go that far to find something that's offensive, obviously that person has grown from that point all the way to the point that they're at now that you're trying to cancel them. Because basically, you're trying to throw people under the bus for stuff that would probably be beyond the statute of limitation, and society might have changed by then. Like, take for instance, Nate Parker, Birth of a Nation. History is not going to look at that, that situation. They're going to have to bury that, because for a person to have a movie that does that well on the indie circuit, and people say, oh man, this is a great movie, we want to put this in mainstream theaters, and then as soon as it gets right about to the press run, somebody comes out of the blue and say, oh, he's a rapist. And people just run on it, and then, and then the people in the movie go, oh, I didn't know that was true. And then they add that the movie had scenes in it that was just so offensive, but those people didn't watch the movie to know that those scenes weren't in the movie. And then after the movie comes out and it makes money, but it doesn't do as well as it critically acclaimed should have, then people go, oops, my bad. He didn't rape nobody. You know, it's like, oh, this is what we doing. So it's like, okay, all right. So to have this happen over and over and over again to different people, where, you know, it's kind of like, and the irony of this is, it's kind of like it's out of the R. Kelly playbook. If anybody, there's a certain point in time, there was like a certain 5-6 year stretch where every time R. Kelly dropped the album, there was a news article about him doing something by the same writer. Same writer just kept coming out. He's about to drop an album. I'm like, guess what he did? He about to drop another album. Guess what he did? It was when the album did well, it was like, okay, guess it didn't work. So when the next album came out, guess what we got to do? And now it got real big on that when that tape came out. But it's that same playbook. So and it works with people who have dirty hands, and it works with people who have clean hands. So people are so woke and so willing to cancel people, but at the same time they're like, oh, it's front page news to cancel a person, but it's not even it's front page news as far as socially in the media, but there are no retractions after the stories are found not to be true, you know. Exactly, Sean. So that becomes a problem. So will history look good at, look at cancel culture as, oh yeah, this is a good thing? I mean, not cancel culture, but woke culture as a good thing? I don't think so. I think it's got a bad, it's getting a worse and worse and worse rap. Now, take it a step further. Speaking of agendas, so you got the Me Too agenda, right? And that's supposed to be, women, protect women and believe all women. And women in the 80s were getting sexually harassed. That's absolutely true. I'm not going to deny that. And then there were women in the 80s who made a living using sex to get ahead. So how do you say both of those women have the same situation? How is the woman who got sexually harassed because she was trying to go into a particular career have the same exact get the same amount of, how can you call that, leeway or same amount of sympathy as in public as a person who actively used their sexuality to get ahead and now they can't do it anymore? So both people get the same amount of sympathy, and both people's stories is a struggle and they're triumphant when one participated and the other didn't. How's history gonna look at that? How's history gonna look at while the Me Too movement was going on, people were promoting slut walks at the exact same time. And this is supposed to be woke, woke culture. Because it makes people look like they're not that woke, because you get to walk around and be a walking contradiction. But you're not woke to the contradiction. You're not woke to the hypocrisy. So it's a problem. So now we gotta deal with that part of it. Can history look at that objectively and say, oh, they did a good job. Oh, that made absolute sense. Part of woke culture is basically telling, if you were born a boy, you should be able to play sports with girls who were born a girl because you feel like you're a girl. You know, so basically, boys should run tracks with girls because they feel like it. And the irony of even that part of the agenda is you don't see the girls who want to quote unquote be guys. You don't see them want to enter male sports. Somehow it's only a one-way street. So think, oh, I feel like I feel like a girl today. Okay, so I should be able to play. Yes, so I should be able to wrestle and win a state championship wrestling in high school against girls. And then people will say, "What's wrong with that? You people are not progressive." So you don't look at it that as cheating. That's what we're saying. That's not, that's not cheating. So I remember one of the guys mocked that ideology. I think he was a power lifter, a bodybuilder. He walked in there and said, "Look, I'm a girl today. I'm going to identify as a woman today, and you can't stop me because today I am a lady." And he broke all the records of the women, and I think he's identifies as a man again today. Will that be looked at as woke cultures on the right side of history? And then part of it's like, no, people want to have the freedom to go into whatever bathroom they feel like. That is not, you're not oppressed by that. You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't even make sense. If that's your biggest issue, you don't really have issues like that. So that's part of the problem. Now, let's take it a little further. Um, the interesting thing about the woke culture, like I said, it's more. There's no focus on men's rights in woke culture, not heterosexual men. So you got equality on one end, because feminism is part of woke culture and women's empowerment is part of woke culture. You got that on one end, right? But on the other end, you got, well, so divorces, a guy should still be, should still pay traditional ways. Ray Hanma, what's happening? What's up, George? Temptations in the building. You know, you got guys, you want equality, but 9 out of 10 guys lose. Well, it's like 8.7 or something like that now. Lose custody, regardless of the gender of the child. But that doesn't seem like that unfairness isn't a big deal because it's about equality. Women are still allowed to get guys retirements after they've gotten a divorce. That doesn't, but it doesn't work the other way around. Men can't get into a wife's retirement. That doesn't seem like equality. So people are going to look at it like, oh, this is not good. Will woke culture be on the right side of history? And to see things like ladies have to have the conversation with other women, like, this is what men have been going through for years, so what's the big problem? Well, I shouldn't have to go through that. You can't ask for equality and say you want equality and then get treated equally and say that's not what I want and keep putting that out into the world. You know what I'm saying? G-Star, what's happening? Appreciate it. History is not going to look kindly to that. Oh, you know what? When we go out, I know you want to be equal, so we're going Dutch. I don't deal with a man that goes Dutch. What? I thought you wanted to show that you can take care of yourself and all that. No. Okay, I don't get it right now. I want the option for equality and traditionalism. You think history is going to look good at that? No, it's going to look like all these people out of their minds. Like, woke culture, because people are so woke. Just so woke, right? Not to mention, it seems like, how can I put this properly? When you look at politics, you start to see how woke the nation is, right? Because you look at politicians, and woke politicians have a tendency to do a lot of symbolic things. So what's going to happen when people look back and say, well, the America was at this point politically and financially, and the people were at this point dealing with these issues in America that cost people their lives and cost people money. And what did people want politically to be done? It's kind of like, you know what I'm gonna refer to. Being woke is kind of like an NFL player right now. You know how the NFL players did their collective bargaining agreement, and they skipped over having guaranteed contracts for the ability to not really get suspended like that for smoking weed. That's what that is part of what they chose. That is like, the woke political system. you know, hey man, I don't need to guarantee money. Look, man, I just want to get high, man. Like if I get high and you find me for that, I don't want that. It's like, what? You turned down guaranteed. You fought for being able to get high over guaranteed money. Interesting. Y'all don't understand. No, I understand. It's stupid. Kind of like, people are out here fighting for, how can I put this properly? People are fighting for sanctuary cities and illegal immigration as a taxpayer. I'm not saying people shouldn't be migrants and come to this country and find a better life than where they come from. Because if that's what they want to do, good, But what I am saying is, if a country is 20 plus trillion dollars in debt, you don't bring people into the country, let the people come here illegally, and actually use taxpayer money that could be spent on paying down the debt of this country to take care of people who didn't even come in here properly. That's woke culture for you. We got to take care of the world. No, we don't. No. So now now people are like, well, why these rich people ain't paying taxes? And they weaseling their way out of paying taxes. Has it ever crossed your mind that I'm employing people and paying for illegal? I'm employing people and paying them and paying taxes with them and for them also. And I'm also paying taxes for people who don't even belong in this country. I want my money. That's what these corporations, you know what? And these corporations are abroad in other countries employing some of the very people that come to this country. Interesting. But that's woke culture. Is that going to be looked at like, because when you kick the can of debt down to the next generation and the generation after that, how are they going to look at it? how are they gonna go? Wait, what? You did what because of what? I'm not feeling this. How will this woke culture be looked at? You know, at, in the history books. Matter of fact, let me reverse part of this, because even when they turned to school books and said, slavery was immigrants. What happens when you go back in the books and you say, okay, so this is the thing about American history. We've not told the complete story of American history in American schools for centuries now. But we decided to put more sauce on this and say, slaves, Africans who came here enslaved were immigrants too. So ultimately slavery didn't really exist. They were immigrants coming from countries abroad like everybody else. And it's like, oh, wow, this is what we doing? You gonna teach this while the parents of these children are still alive and their grandparents are still alive, as if they're not gonna tell them the truth? Oh, okay, this is dumb, but it's America, you know. But this is woke culture, right? And then, you know, I just gotta go here and just talk about this. Will woke culture be looked at in a good light when you look at the people who are woke? See, in 2021, when you look at the people who've been woke from 2015, I don't know, to 2021, you're gonna see a lot of adults who look like overgrown children. You know, a lot of colorful hair and Comic-Con cosplay looking and sounding and acting people who are talking who have some deep ties to being woke and activism, and you're like, it looked like you just rolled out of bed and played Pokemon. Well, it doesn't matter that I look like you know my a niece that's into rock bands in '89. What matters is what I'm saying. Your image, but the image of being woke looks kind of ridiculous. It looks like people who just didn't want to get a job and grow up and be an adult. Doesn't look like people who came to some type of higher consciousness. You know, it reverts back to, hippies were supposed to be woke. But when you look back at hippies, you're like, these people was just lazy drug addicts, who wanted to smash people in their free time, and then all of a sudden wake up one day and say, you know what, I don't know why I've been eating mushrooms for the last 3 years riding around in the van because, of imperialism. No, that's because you were, exactly, Rip. You failed to launch. You're stuck in arrested development. You're not woke. You're beyond. You're asleep. You've been asleep. You've been lazy. That's all you've been. So it's like, when you look at these people, then you're gonna look at the picture of all the woke people, and it's constant. They're gonna be like just a step or two ahead of people wearing bonnets and pajamas in Walmart. All of them. It's like, this is not a good idea. It's not a good idea. So, to me, this is horrible. I think history is not gonna smile on wokeness at this particular time. You know, oh, exactly, Savant. It's ridiculous. But I'm gonna get out of here, y'all. I just had the little quick thing, just get out of here. So I move on to the next thing. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Y'all have a great night. Peace.